Hello and welcome to the Bricecast. This is episode 11. My name is Bryce and we're bringing you Call of Duty esports news, topics, comments and stories from the great world of Call of Duty. Now, joining me here this week, a good friend of mine, it's Zach. Zach, first of all, how are you?
Stressed, but we're getting by. I've had a good off season so far. Been playing with a ton of friends, so it's been fun.
That's good to hear, man. Well, hopefully this is a fun thing for you to do because that's what I care about. I want you to kind of enjoy being on this kind of program, and we'll go through some topics. We'll talk a little bit about your history and just various things as we go through. Because I'm sure right now, off season's never a fun time for the majority of players, and you especially. You've done
Yeah.
this a few times now and try to figure out where you go. I mean, orange teams are your preference, which I did laugh when I realised. You're from Rec to Paris. Um, but other than that, how are you enjoying your off season? You said you're playing a lot of games with friends. What games are you playing, Zach?
I'm mainly playing Valorant, honestly. Because when the COD season's on, I don't tend to touch really many other games. So this is the time I choose to just kind of spend it my way. So it's been hanging out with my girlfriend and stuff. So it's been good so far.
That's good. It's good to hear, man. I've always said, right. I think players need to really make sure they enjoy their off season.
Yeah.
Like when you come to the rest of the year, that you're not going to have a chance to take a holiday. I mean, you're not going to have to take a holiday anyway because of COVID, but you're not going to have a chance to do all these sort of things. And a work-life balance is very important to make sure that you're refreshed for the season because it is a grind, right? Let's talk about that.
Uh,
As a professional player, you guys. Let's start about. I mean, this kind of relates to Paris as well, right? You guys started off the season for Paris in France,
I forgot about that.
which was
Dear me.
which was weird because I remember correctly, like a lot of visa stuff had to be
Yep.
sorted. You got with the team, but then you're not scrimming the Americans and stuff. Like, what happened? What was the first month in France all about?
I mean, it's hard to say really, but I don't think it hurt us as much as we thought because, in my opinion, EU teams, like if you want to call them amateur teams, but I mean I class them as professionals, like teams like Team War, like I've classed them better than the NAMs. Like that's just the way I've always thought about it. I've always thought EU players were better in that kind of like range. Um, so like we weren't too far behind, but like I mean, it was like slightly demotivating, like not being able to scrim like the other 11 teams. Um, I don't want to say it hurt us because I don't think it did. I think we were actually ahead at the time when we came to America. Um, but I mean, I wish I could have stayed in America and just stayed at my own home and stuff.
No, no, that I understand. That I understand entirely, right? Like, especially because you have a girlfriend out in America as well, so you had to come away from a place you're
Yeah.
going to be playing for the rest of the year, and essentially your life out there to go play in Paris. Um, what was it like then? Because obviously this is it's a new team when you first joined Paris. Did you get along with everyone straight away? Was it awkward, kind of playing with some of these players? Because obviously new team, new start, new franchise, new CDL, everything.
Um, I mean, I think Europeans and Australians are very similar in terms of like the jokes you can throw at each other and the banter you can like kind of hold. So like I mean, I knew Shocks before as well, and like I knew of a few of the other players, so it wasn't like it was something unknown. Obviously, like getting familiar with each other was kind of the part that you had to work on. But I mean, straight away it was throwing jokes at each other and stuff, so it was easy. But um, I mean, 7 players is you got 6 relationships to uphold, so it gets tricky sometimes.
Oh, of that I have absolutely no doubt. I think it's always an interesting thing. People just expect players to walk into new teams and interact with new people at the drop of a hat, right, and just get along straight away. And obviously,
Yeah,
there's always going to be a
that's
bit of awkwardness until you get to know each other. And you know, you can correct me if I'm wrong, is it? But I've always thought of you as more of an outgoing personality, just in terms of the way you conduct yourselves.
yeah. I mean, me like personally, I'm quite an open book. So, um, me as a teammate, I like to think of myself as like easy to talk to and like easy to get along with.
Yeah.
So, like for me personally, it's not like hard to meet new people and like interact with new people. But when you've been, for example, Kismet, me and him were back, like not me and him like personally, but like him and like Reciprocity were back and forth all year, and then you threw us in a team together. Like for me, that's fine, but like for some players, that might be a problem. Like you might not be able to put two players that have been, going back and forth all year together on the same team. Um, which they're kind of lucky that it didn't kind of go that way.
No, I agree with that. Have you ever really kind of fallen out? And you don't have to name the player or anything. I'm just curious, right? Ever really fallen out with somebody, or just not got along? I just don't like this person.
Um, there's no one I don't like. There's people that maybe I'm not as friendly with,
Yeah.
but that's simply just because maybe I haven't teamed with them or I haven't like been around them too much. I rarely ever argue with people. It takes a lot to kind of piss me off, but I'm kind of, yeah, like I said, I'm easygoing.
That's good to hear. Like I said, one of the things that interests me about hearing about the Paris Legion being in Paris is not every team took that route, right? Not
Mm.
every team decided to get the team together. Not everybody decided to have them sit down with their coaches, because your coaching staff was there as well. Like, obviously, I happen to know Joel and Josh. Um, to the point where I think, I was speaking to some of your coaches and that you were in the background and all that sort of stuff. What was that environment like? Because coaching has been a mixed bag over the years, to say it
Mm.
nicely.
I mean, I've known Joel he's coached me before. I've known him for years. So I knew like him coming in, he was actually going to help. And I think like the team we had in Paris, you need a coach like Joel for that to work. Um, you ain't gonna turn that team into a winning team without someone that is going to take shit from the players, if that makes sense. Um, you need someone with like a backbone, is what I'm trying to
Yeah.
say. So Joel was
Oh,
like the
Joel
perfect
has that.
fit.
Joel definitely
Yeah,
has
yeah.
that.
So it was Joel was the perfect fit for that roster. Um, so at the beginning of the season, I had no worries really. I knew it was gonna work out.
No, that's fair. I think that's fair. Like I said, I think one of the things, and this is, it's not really Joel, it's more to do with the Paris Legion team. The start of the year, there was an awful lot of shade thrown at your squad. An awful lot, like a ridiculous amount. You were 12th on a lot of people's power rankings. People asking what you were doing, like just crazy amounts of shade thrown. Did that ever affect you at one point? Like sitting there just watching that vitriol come in and people just basically shit talk you and your teammates?
I mean, I've dealt with that for years now. I've dealt with that since uni lad in World War Two, and it doesn't make sense. Like it doesn't make sense to me because I've consistently been. If you look at World War Two, look at Rec. I've been in a team that had chances to win tournaments, but maybe just a few things didn't go our way. Um, and it's how can you say a team's going to be 12th? Looking at some of the other rosters, especially at that time, um, and you were saying we were going to be 12th, that was kind of mind blowing to me. But I mean that stuff don't affect me at all. I just get on with the game and I'm there to win. So if a player lets that affect them, then maybe Call of Duty isn't the game for them because you're going to get it literally every week.
Yeah, I mean, I make enough videos about it regardless. So. um, do you ever think that kind of pressure though? Did it ever affect the team? Like just knowing that people are disrespecting your teammates, disrespecting the brand, a brand new brand that's just come in and people are already saying shit. Was there
I
any
mean,
any of that discussion in any of it?
if anything, it gave us something to prove
Yeah.
rather than like I said, that stuff it doesn't affect me, but it pisses me off. Like it makes me want to like be even better. It doesn't. It gives me like a positive like flow, and it always like that's why again in every team I've been in they've done well. There's a reason for that. So yeah, I think it's just positive really, positive energy.
Positive vibes, as they like to
Yeah,
say.
yeah.
That's fair. I think it's interesting your personal story, right? From at least from my point of view, because there are, in my opinion, quite a lot of Z fans out there now that 2 year goes well, and a good portion of that, I will say, I think Reciprocity certainly helped you. You know, not only were there good results on the board and you were doing well in like that dealership with Dylan, but the content, right? Just Did you see like a big upswell of just Z fans from watching you in videos like that? That you don't seem to have any shame in just being yourself in.
100%. I've said like I still speak to all the rate boys pretty much every day. And I said to him like, I wonder what our careers would have been like if Reciprocity was still around for this year,
Yeah.
still doing the content. I wonder what kind of like impact that would have had on our careers. And you know, it sucks that they left because they were, like I said, I got not a bad word to say about them. They were great, all of them. But I mean, yeah, definitely like even just like my following and stuff on social media. Like I'm not as big as some of the top dogs, but for me, like going, I mean, I've almost doubled in a year, so
Like I said,
a lot.
for me, I thought it was fantastic. It's something that I am possibly known as somebody who likes to critique and rant about Call of Duty esports, potentially, right? Um, but I have always said, look, I give credit where it's due, and I tweeted out their content every week. I fucking said this is fantastic. I highlighted the numbers in there. I've always said, right, when somebody does something that well, it needs to be replicated. And obviously, I am still annoyed it wasn't replicated this much in the CDL, and it's something I thought was missing. But people underestimate. Don't get me wrong, right? It wasn't doing hundreds of thousands of views, but they built up a YouTube channel in a year to a decent level where people were
Oh,
waiting to see the next thing, right? Even if you can entertain 1,000 people, that's unreal, right? 1,000 people want to watch your content is ridiculous.
yeah. No, it's I wish. I mean, Paris would have done it because, like I said, it to stem on from that, like maybe that could have done something for me. But um, I mean, I just obviously I want Call of Duty to grow as a whole, not just myself. But um, no, it was enjoyable content. That was the main thing. Like, not one of us, like you had, like Sean said it to me the other day. He said it perfect. He said they had people like Shawnee and Wuskin doing content.
Yeah,
Like, if you take Shawnee from World War II, if anyone knows him personally, you know that Shawnee isn't going to do content. Like, he's not that type of person. But
yeah.
Rec had him literally wanting to do it. Like, they had us doing everything. It was amazing. Props to them guys, man. They
That's a
really did kill it.
really good point, man. I didn't even think of
Yeah.
that. Like, there are a lot of people in here who just don't do, even in Call of Duty now, right? Because I've said this before. You know, don't be surprised when you're a pro player and you've turned down all content opportunities over the last few years, and then your stock drops a little bit, and you're like, oh shit, I'm struggling now. Like,
Mm.
if people don't connect with you on that level, then it's going to be more difficult. And don't get me wrong, right? Winning and stats and performance, all very important. Always have been. I'm never going to deny that. But there's no reason not to also build a brand. There's no reason for not to have
Exactly.
people like you, because at the end of the day, fans matter. They always have done.
They're
It's
going
it,
to relate to the players. I mean, you can look
yeah,
at Octane, for example. Octane was a big name. He was a big name before he started his content.
yeah.
But now he's got his content. I mean, I don't know his numbers exactly, but I can see that he's literally his YouTube's bigger, his Twitch is bigger, his Twitter's bigger, and like that's just from him doing content. Like
Yeah.
people have actually like related to something and they really enjoy it. So
I think, funny enough, I didn't even think of that. Octane is possibly the best example of it because I think coming into this year, like we did a mock draft. I don't know if you saw it when we went back with Spitfire.
I think
Um, and Octane went number one, and I knew he would go number one. So it was close between him and Simp because of just how consistent he's been over the years and like how great he is. And he's got into a team where the team has literally been horrifically bad, right? That team, Seattle Surge, terrible team this year, shockingly so. Um, and yet, people love him. He's
yeah,
more popular now than he was at the start of the
yeah,
year, right?
that's
It's
yeah,
mad.
and he's more popular than when he was winning.
Yeah.
So like it proves that content matters at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that I really want to see kind of pushed forward by others. You know, it's always going to be a personal thing of mine. But let's talk about your ex teammates
Oh
and
yeah.
that rec life, because what do you think about living in a team house? You know, you guys, you did it for a year. Obviously, it's been different this year with COVID, and you don't have a facility and all this other bullshit. So I have to ask you about last year. What's the biggest surprise living and working in a team house?
I mean, from being in the scene, I've always heard the team houses aren't a good thing. Um,
Yeah,
but having that experience from that reg year, for me, team houses are worth it. if you have the right people. You have to have the right people in the house.
Yeah.
So that rec house, I don't think you could have. I think if you take one person out, I don't think it's the same like energy that it was because it was literally perfect. Like you couldn't have asked for you know 7, 8 better people to be in a house together. Um, and obviously, I was my first proper year in America. It was a really good experience to like. I've been with uni lads, so I was like really good friends with Sean and Brad. So it was like to live in a house with the people like you're friends with and like experience everything together was amazing. And I mean, I wish I could go back and like not take it for granted as much.
Yeah.
Um, because there were some days I just laid in bed and just did nothing. But I
I
wish I
mean,
like just
experience what?
1 week back in the house with the same people and I'd have a blast. So
It's
it was nice.
interesting because I've always, and I've heard stories come out of the rec house and stuff, and I'm one of these ones who I believe now that I don't think team houses are a good thing for the long term. And I think if anything, rec was an example that kind of obviously disproved the rule, but for me, it is the fluke. It is something that doesn't happen. I think you had a good
Yeah.
bunch of lads from the UK and who got along in Australia, and you could tell you guys were friends. I think the content helped keep them fresh. Did you never come up against any of the issues that are frequently touted about those then? Like burnout, politics in the house, like not being able to separate yourself from the situation. Like there's no relief from that team atmosphere for a competitive squad.
It was weird because even though there was no like escape, I don't think anyone wanted to.
Okay.
Like nobody wanted to be on their own. Like, and granted, when they did, they just went in their bedroom and just went to bed or done whatever in their room. But like, we was always together. Like, I put emphasis on that because we were like every second I was awake, I was with someone. And like, I'm very social. I like being with people. I don't like being on my own. So like for me, that's perfect. Like, I was with Brad, I was with Dylan. Just we'd go to the pitch and play football, soccer, whatever you want to call it, in America.
Football.
But
We call it football. Thank you very
yeah,
much, mate.
football.
I know you've been over there a
Uh,
little while, but
no, and it was I don't know, it was just like for me it's perfect vibe. And I've suggested it to players this year doing the same thing, but it's after having a house and then this year being in an apartment in LA, I'd pick a house every time, really.
is that tainted because of the COVID situation and the fact that most teams are supposed to, or at least the ideal scenario, is to have your own personal space and then go to a facility during the day. Whereas obviously you
See,
haven't been able to do that now.
it's hard because I experienced a couple months of it before COVID hit. I was still in LA for them 2 months, and it's for me personally, a house is much more viable for me, being social and stuff. But I can see why people like apartments, having your own space. But yeah, house every time for me.
That's fair. Let's talk about that then. COVID hit. How did it change? Because you said already, right? You usually pretty good at being sociable. You're pretty good at going out places. You enjoy that aspect of things. COVID obviously just shut that shit down. Probably not as much in America as it has over here, but I'm not getting political with it. Um, how has that affected coaching, training, just your general mental health, if anything?
I mean, it was hard because Joel was meant to come out to America just before
Yeah,
COVID hit, so Joel was never able to come out to LA. So we never had Joel with us,
yeah,
which maybe wouldn't have affected any results, but like it would have been nice for him to be there and experience it as well, just for like his first like proper year. Um, but I mean, as far as mental health goes, this year was tough, man. It was going like nobody wants to lose, and then on top of that, the world's in its the state it is, and honestly, I struggled at times. I really did struggle, but thankfully that's all like good now, and I'm good. But it was, it was nice to have like Dens. I had Dens there with me, so like me and him were always like together. Um, and then when I wasn't with Dens, I was back here with Lisa, so it was, I was always with someone.
yeah. Because I think people overlook the fact that it can be very isolating. Because I mean, it's bad enough, right? In the UK, obviously, Americans and UK watch this, but we had a full lockdown, and I didn't get to see my other half for like 3 months, and if you're in America, you don't have a support system there as much as you would do if you were back in your, your hometown, for instance. So I think you were
Yeah,
probably one of the lucky ones who had someone there with you, like Dens, to make sure that somebody could just seeing a different face every day. I think can
yeah,
help,
exactly.
right?
Actually speaking to someone.
Yeah, rather than just put on a headset and sitting in a Discord channel, right?
Yeah.
So that's really interesting. I am going to change the subject ever so slightly to mention the guy you just spoke about, and I'm sure he'll hate me for this, but nobody ever speaks about Joel, and I was speaking to him earlier, and I'm sure he's busy at the moment. I just want to because he doesn't do any media, he doesn't do anything like that. I've asked him to come on, he ignores me. What can you say about Joel to the community? Because people don't know a lot about him outside of like the European OGs.
I mean, he works hard, man, behind the scenes. He does. He really does work hard. And like, I wish the teams I've been in with him could have done more
Yeah,
because I feel like he's been very unfortunate with the teams he's had to coach. Um, there's been a lot of problems out of like his control that he can't fix. But him working with Brandon, who was our analyst, and then Josh, like them three together were like they were unreal. They were like they done everything like with especially with Brandon, like Brandon's stats that he brought this year, like actually having an analyst to look at like in-depth data and stuff like that. It was perfect. So we had the tools to succeed, but we just didn't get it at the final hurdle. Um, but hopefully, in the next year we'll see what happens and hopefully things can change.
I will say on a positive note for the Paris Legion, you guys start off the year really well. Like I said, you smashed expectations straight out the gate. Why do you think that was, and what do you think the community reaction to that was?
I mean, I just think people underestimate us. Like I said, like us playing in Europe, it put us ahead. We kind of, learned the game pretty quickly. Um, I mean, we did play OG like the bad version of OGLA
Yeah.
at Minnesota, and then we played London, who again I think they were the team that did underestimate us at the time. And it's like maybe if we played a harder team at the time, it would have been a bit more difficult. But I mean, the next event we took Chicago like game five, so we weren't bad, but I just think we stopped improving when everyone else carried on improving. No, I think that was our problem. We stayed at the same level when everyone else kind of shut up.
I can see that. No, I can 100% see that. Do you think obviously going online didn't help with that aspect? I know you guys had to move, right? Is that correct? You guys actually ended up moving halfway through the season because of internet issues.
Yeah, like the first online weekend was the LA server, whatever server we were playing. I can't remember at this time. It was just lagging everywhere, and we ended up losing with that. So that's one weekend gone that we've lost.
Yeah.
No points, zero CDL points. Um, the second weekend, I think it was the same thing, if I remember. Not as bad, but the same thing. So at that point, we were like, okay, what can we do? We have me that lives in North Carolina, Kismet that lives in South Carolina. How about we move over, like move us to there and compete from there? So we moved us, and then we carried on losing. Um, and I mean, my internet here just it doesn't connect well to Dallas host for some
Okay.
reason. And every single time we played a team, it was on Dallas host. So you can imagine I was literally getting tucked. Um, so I ended up even with COVID going on, with everything literally at its worst. I flew back to LA in like June or July because I was like, I cannot, like, I need to do something. I can't just sit here and just accept it.
Yeah.
So I flew back to LA. We started winning a bit. We got to the final of the London event. Um,
I
and
feel
then
like
got
people overlook that as well. Like talking about Paris, the crazy thing for me about the Paris team is you guys were slept on at the beginning of the year. You had a good run. It started slowing down, but it's not like you just went, slept on, good, shit. Like you went slept on, good, and then you kind of went to like mid-table. I feel and like you could beat a good few teams. Like there weren't easy games against you, and I feel like people forget that. At least in my opinion, like when I look at it through like the spectrum of work the Paris Legion did and yourself, there
yeah,
is more there than just final results. Like it seems like people don't appreciate how close games can be and how competitive they are.
yeah. I mean, the super frustrating thing this season was translating our games from scrims to actual matches, we were a good scrim team. We were. I mean, I think we lost. There was a time in like 2 weeks we had like a 98% win rate in domination. But when we got to officials, we struggled to win a dom. Like that was
Yeah.
we couldn't win that third game mode. Um, we knew like our S&D had to be on point, and that's a big testament like to why we got second at the London event because we won like every S&D. Um, Hardpoint was always we might win it, we might not, depending on how we come out. Because for some reason we're just so like our first like half of the game would be super slow. We'd just be getting destroyed, and then we'd start bringing it back, but it's too late at that point. So at champs and stuff like our S&D wasn't where it was, and that's the problem with relying on S&D is once you've like shown you're good at it, uh, teams aren't going to let you be good at it again for the next event. Super hard to replicate like that kind of winning style. So um, it was frustrating throughout the season, really.
No, that I understand, right? That I completely understand. And I think, for me at least, looking at this from an outsider's perspective, right? I am an outsider in this regard. No matter how long I've been in, I am not a player and I am not a manager or a coach. Hell, I'm not even a caster at the moment. It's easy for me to be objective on a team's performance. I mean, slightly less easy when I like the people on the team. That is the case on some teams, right? Um, because I always choose to look at players and teams in who are they playing and what has happened. It's not always as simple as, oh, they came eighth. Well, why did they come eighth? Who did they play? What were the vetoes like? Is it a case of a bad matchup, right? That is the issue with a tournament format, is you can get tucked by somebody who is just better than you in a map pool. And it doesn't mean that you aren't a better team. It just means that that is the way it goes this weekend. And I think for Paris, if you had to do a power ranking for the majority of it, I would put you mid-table. I think, like I said, there were obvious improvements. Basically, nobody was touching the Elite Three anyway for the majority of the year, so people can put that idea in the bin. And it's a crazy run of events. One more game, one more S&D map, and you go up into the bracket, and you're in points, right? People, I think, at the start of the year underestimated this format in terms of just getting those points and starting to rack them up is so important.
Yeah, I mean, we like I said, we did start off well, and that really helped us. But it was just that mid season, really. Like, I mean, we went like 0-8 matches, which confuses me because we went 0-8 and everyone was shitting on us, but then Minnesota ended the season like 0-10 and no one said anything,
Yeah, well,
which is
that's
which
the
is
issue,
weird
right?
because you're gonna shit on us, at least shit on them as well. Because I've always said I think some of the casters are biased towards the Americans, and this just proves my point, really. So
I think it's a general bias in that case. Like, because I think for me, how do I put this without stitching anyone up? There are cases over the years where I've been backstage and people have discredited Europeans or European players based on their limited viewpoint of, oh, I'm more friendly. Basically, they're more friendly with the North American scene, so they will take their excuses more reasonably than anything else. And while stats don't lie, I think there are out cases of outliers, and they do forget, the close games and what can happen. And that is a perfect point of it, when people don't talk about Rocky but talk about Paris, and you're like, well, yeah, Rocky were absolutely shockingly bad. Paris didn't even end the season that badly, in my opinion. Champs wasn't amazing, and we'll talk through that in a minute. But those games, there was a group of four. I think I put like London, Toronto, New York, and Paris. Those four teams, they all played in a different way or a different way around. Anything could happen, right? Like, those four teams are all very competitive and very close. London came out on top Champs weekend, obviously a big thing, but you have to be objective with this, I think, for a lot of people and say, these obviously are people's careers and people like to just judge it based on KD and fucking what good weekend, what's the last good game you had and all this bullshit. But, some people have been gassed over a four-piece and remember it for 6 months. Like, now, do you remember they got that four-piece in that game and gassed it up, It's so ridiculously subjective a lot of the time. But let's talk about champs, right? The big end of the year, obviously, isn't what you wanted to happen, realistically, right? It was never going to be an easy event. Everybody was there, but take me through, your run up to champs, your prep, and then what went down.
I mean, we probably looked the best we did all year in our hard point running up to champs, which is unfortunate because like I would prefer S&D to be our best game mode, but like I said, like we used we gave everyone an insight to how good we are at S&D at the London event to come second. So like everyone had everything on us. Like we used things at the London event nobody's seen before this year. So like just kind of the rushes you can do, and people were stopping that happening, and that even if it's just 1 or 2 rounds, that shit stops you in your tracks winning like getting far in an event. So obviously we only had one life. I mean that doesn't help. Um, Kind of unfortunate that we needed Toronto and OGLA to not make it out of groups, and Toronto went on to win the event. So it's
Yeah.
that put us straight in the losers bracket. Otherwise, we'd have been in the winners bracket. It literally come down to that one thing. But I mean, it's just. I mean, we only have ourselves to blame, really. I don't really blame anyone else apart from ourselves for doing like getting ourselves in that position. But
No,
I mean, I would have liked
I
to come
understand
further.
that.
I don't know.
I understand that. I understand that. Is it like, how did Champs feel this year? Because obviously, Champs is unique, and people who haven't been to one won't really understand it. How different Champs feels, right? Like I said, I'm a caster. I've been to every single one apart from the most recent one. It just feels different. Obviously, not involved in this year, but how did you feel rocking up to Champs this year? Was it the same feeling? Did it feel just like another day at the office? Was there more pressure on you? What happened?
I mean, I think there was more pressure for sure because this year it was like, especially us, it was you do well, you're probably gonna have a job next year. You don't do well, you're probably in a tough spot.
Yeah.
Um, and worrying about finances and trying to pay Call of Duty is probably the one of the hardest things to do because it's so tough to do. Um, Especially like when you're in a different country, like you don't want to have to worry about finances. But I mean, just that feeling, the feeling of this is the last event, this is the last, this is where the big money is. And I mean, even losing, like losing sucks at champs. That's something I don't want to experience. I've experienced it like 3 times now, and I
Yeah.
do not want to experience it again. Because
That's
like
fair.
knowing like the year's done, like that's it. As soon as that, you know, the last domination flag gets capped, you're done. Like that's you're over. It's hard to like kind of fathom. If that's a word. Like it's hard to look at, but it was definitely just as you know just as much pressure as like previous champs, even though being online. I mean, I think the money increase this year really, you know, was a testament to that. Like having that much money on the line,
Yeah.
just knowing like every game you win is basically doubling your money. Um, that's why I would have liked to start in winners bracket. It would have been a lot easier for us, but you can't have it your way. And hopefully, I get some better luck next year.
I hope so too, man. Like I said, I'm a big fan. I'm glad you came on. Right? It's something. I can't remember the last time I had you on a podcast. I know I had you on a thing about Warzone about 4 months ago.
Yeah, I think
But
that's
before then, I can't remember when.
yeah, it
A
was a
long
while
time.
back.
It was a while back.
Yeah.
Champs is always an interesting thing because I say the same basic little tweet every year. I say this is the end of the excuses. This is the end of everything. If you do not perform at champs, there is nothing else. And you summed it up perfectly there, right? You can't. There's nothing. No more what ifs. No more. Oh, I'll get better for the next time. No more exits. This is your last game as a professional until we find out what's happening next year. And especially with the breaks are getting longer now, right? It's not like it used to be. Champs used to be middle of the year, and then it's gone to the end of the year, and then we'd have a short break. Now if it does it again, January could be the start of the league. It's like 4 or 5 months of
Yes, a
not
long way.
actually competing properly, which is just madness because all pro players do is just think about the game 24/7 and just like next game, I'll practice or scrim now. How has the Speaking of that, I didn't ask you. How has the changing culture affected you? Because obviously you've been playing for a while now. It's now gone to a more strictly regimented scrim slots. You play like 2 or 3 a day. I know because I like to schedule around certain scrim slots and stuff. Do you prefer the practice you get now to the old way of doing it, which was basically just play until you die till 5 a.m. in the morning?
See, this one's a hard question because the problem with being like a team like we were in Paris,
Yeah.
teams don't scrim you. Like we hardly ever got a Atlanta scrim, Dallas scrim, or like a Chicago scrim. Like, very rarely. Um, maybe once a week, once every 2 weeks, maybe. Other than that, we're playing LEG and Seattle every day, and you can't get better if you're playing teams on the same skill level as you or below you. You have to be playing the better teams to get better, and it's so hard to get out that like cycle. Um, so I wish there was a better way of doing it, like to make it more fair for everyone.
Yeah.
But then again, it's only ourselves to blame because who's going to scream a bad team? No one. So
No,
it's hard, man.
I
It's hard.
understand that. I still think I do agree. I do think more variety, and I was hoping once you guys kind of prove yourself, like I said, I don't think it's any um shock to a few people that people are still being egotistical about Scrim this day and age. Even though you guys could definitely teach something, about some people, whether it just be running a set of S&Ds. You weren't shit at them, you knew how to play S&D, and it's different, and people could definitely benefit from that in multiple ways. It's so weird. The culture at the moment, Call of Duty is so. It's still not right in my opinion, but I think I've made my points on that perfectly clear as I rant about it daily. Um, but I don't know. It's interesting you said that because I didn't realize the scrimmage still wasn't at that stage and it was still kind of like preference based.
Well, the only time we ever scrimmed a top team was when they wanted to do a best of 9. Again, what you said because we're good at S&D. So teams would scrim us in hardpoint domination just to scrim us in S&D.
Yeah,
So it's like that's the only time we'd get like an Atlanta or a Dallas. Otherwise, it's I guess they just didn't want to scrim us. Which again, I don't blame them because we're at the bottom of the table. They're at the top. Why would they bother?
yeah, I can see that. I don't like it. I can see it, but I don't
No,
like
I don't like it either. But
it.
uh,
Let's talk. Let's change tactics a little bit because I want to talk about your support structure. And we covered a little bit earlier on, with your girlfriend and your teammates, but you also have something that I've always loved the family chat. How have they been watching your games this year? And obviously, you've kind of left them to go live in America for now 2 years on the trot. How is the family?
honestly, it's been hard because I haven't seen them in so long. They were meant to come to the New York event, and that would
Yeah,
have been their time in New York. My brother and sister's first time in America. They were all meant to come over, and that got put on hold because of COVID. So that sucked really. But it's always nice having them because it's someone to talk to. They understand Call of Duty. Surprisingly, they know all the game modes and what goes on. So it's nice to have someone to talk to that isn't a player.
yeah,
Because I would talk to Dens a lot, and me and Dens would talk for hours. And it's just nice to have my mum there that just they talk to her as well when Dens isn't there.
yeah.
Because when the season's on, I live and breathe God. I don't think about anything else. So that's all I talk about.
No, I get it. Like I said, I think it was. I've seen your family obviously watching your games. I think I've seen videos of your family like watching you on the TV and stuff. And I think that's awesome, man. Like I know not every pro has that structure, and I know not all the families are as involved as they could be. So when I saw that, and your group chat, I know I've been on the opposite end of it. If I say something bad about you, I can always see the at Denyas, come at me on Twitter or something along those lines. But I just think it's a fantastic support system. And I do wish everybody could have that because it's something so refreshing to see that. Don't get me wrong, they're not going to be experts about the game, but the fact that they will sit down and watch that and what you do for a living, I think, is just superb.
They
Um,
I have to sometimes tell them to delete tweets or not tweet people because if some random person with no Avi or an anime Avi tweets me, they'll want to tweet him back.
yeah,
So I have to tell them just ignore it because it's gonna happen.
no, yeah, that I can 100% say that. I can 100% say that. Let's move on a little bit and talk about the homestand format this year. Did you like it? Did you not like it? What do you think about the CDL's first year?
It's hard because we didn't really get a feel for what it was going to be like.
Yeah,
We literally got a little teaser, a couple of events, and then it was done with. So I mean, the events we went to, I enjoyed. It would have been nice to have all the teams there because then you feel a sense of accomplishment when you actually win the event because you beat everyone. But I mean, you can't have everyone there, right? If this is the way they
yeah,
want to do it. So it's I mean, I enjoyed them, but I mean, as long as I have a stage, I have my team against another team, I don't really care how they do it. It's kind of up to them, whatever they think's best. So, um, I mean, I'd like to see it in full swing, like a full year of it, and see what
Yeah.
it's actually like. Because I can imagine maybe there's some burnouts here and there with some players. Because it's a lot of traveling and
Yeah.
doing them European flights are tough. When we flew to
Yeah, they are.
London, that was yeah, that was rough.
That's always the one that knocks people, and I feel like obviously a lot of people don't realize it because I've gone obviously across the pond way too many times, and I've always said you're basically fine going over. Like you don't feel it going over to America. Because I remember doing the old UMGs back in the day, and they had the worst schedule. Because I'd fly in on like a Thursday and be live Friday morning, but I wouldn't get
Yeah,
there till like 9, 10 p.m. Have to go straight to bed, wake up, dress, and go cast. And it was okay. I mean, don't get me wrong, wasn't ideal, but okay.
yeah,
Um, but coming back, you just
yeah. It's
feel
the
like
back ones,
you feel
dude.
like shit for days.
It's my mum can vouch for that one. I don't think I ever come back to America and was on a normal sleeping schedule. I think
Yeah.
I was waking up at God knows, maybe I was waking up at 2 a.m. maybe, going to bed at 4 p.m., waking up at 2 a.m. That was my schedule for like a week before I fixed it every time. So it's nice to not have to travel back every time, but yeah, I do miss home and I do miss England a lot. So nice, it's just nice to go back and you've lived there for so long.
Well,
Yeah,
I hope you get a travel home at some point
yeah.
soon and see all the family. Let's move on then and talk about some more hot topics that have been happening recently. I kind of want to see your view on them, and obviously, this is where it gets maybe controversial in some parts. Let's talk about Cold War, for instance. I know you missed out on the initial influencer launch because I know you were very upset about that. Uh,
I
what happened there? By the way, like I don't understand what happened.
I don't know. I got asked to do it. I
Yeah.
got sent the little goodie bag with all the. I got some Astro A10s. I got the jacket, the bag, basically saying like the Cold War little pre-package. And then I was waiting, and they never sent me my code. And then I'm like, oh.
Oh no.
And then I'm they say reach out to your representative. I didn't have one. They added me to the Discord and everything, and I'm sitting there and
Oh
oh,
no.
where's my code? But yeah, all good. I mean,
But you
it's
eventually got to
whatever.
play it, right? Obviously, we had the
Yeah.
alpha come out. You eventually got to play it. What did you think? Hands on, right?
I mean, I played it with London. Well, Sean of London, and then I
Yeah.
played with Dylan and Alex. Um, and I mean, it just feels good to play a game that you enjoy. Just, I mean, I'm excited to see the maps, but just like the guns and the movement and stuff, it feels nice and smooth. Um, and MW feels clunky when I go back to that.
Oh, really?
I'm not touching that game ever again.
What
Like
about
Cold War.
Warzone? You're playing a bit of
See,
Warzone?
with what I see people tweet about hackers, I'm not even downloading it for that. I'm staying away from that. Um, but I mean, it's just like I said, it's just refreshing. It's just nice to have a. I mean, I feel the same every year. It's just
Yeah.
nice to have another game to play. But hopefully, fingers crossed, this game lives up to the hype and is a good one.
That's fair. That's fair. Like I said, for me, I've been collating my thoughts on it, and I'm gonna put it into a video format of what I think about Cold War and its ramifications for the franchise and stuff going forward. I also forgot when we mentioned that, by the way, that you are a Warzone champion. I completely forgot you guys won the first
Um,
Warzone event.
former
Um,
former World and Champion.
well, okay, I mean, still a Warzone champion, right? There's not an awful lot of them about.
Yeah,
Um,
there's very few of us.
there is very few of you. Were they good, by the way? Like, did you enjoy playing those Warzone exhibitions and stuff? Did was that sort of like a highlight for you of the year essentially? Because for me, I love them. I love watching those. They were great.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because you're playing against people you compete against,
Yeah.
so it was actually super fun to do them. Um,
I imagine also stressful because you realize you can't ego chat anybody.
yeah, that's why we camped in a building.
Yeah.
And people knocked it, but I'd like to see what they did for 2.5k each because
Yeah.
I sat in a building and won 2.5k, and I'm happy with that. I'll take that. I went to sleep happy that night. Um, but I mean, yeah, like I said, they're super fun.
I
I
wouldn't
mean,
mind
just
seeing more
doing
of
something
them.
different.
Yeah.
Doing something different was fun. So
That's fair. That's fair. Like I said, I think for me, I tweeted out about it at the time. I said these Warzone games people are watching aren't like other Warzone games. They just aren't. You don't understand. Like playing against all professional Call of Duty players. There is no, oh, I might be able to get in a cheeky play here and just use raw skill to win it. I might be able to ego chow, or I might just pop out and start. No, none of that, because you'll just
Yeah,
get ripped. You will
you've
be
got
destroyed.
you've got to hope things go your way. The circle goes your way.
Yeah.
So that's why the house, we were in it the entire game,
Did
and the
recons, didn't you?
circle, we done recons, went to the house. I think it was Luca that picked the house, and he said, "Let's sit in this one." And the circle went in and in and in and in, and we just sat there watching everyone die around us. I saw Simp dying over to my right, and I was like, "I ain't fighting them. If that's one team, I'm not fighting. It's them." So I ignored them, and I just sat there, and we won the game. So, and then they changed the rule of you had to make kills, but yeah, I've got my money by that point. I'm good.
No, mate, honestly, I would have done the same thing. If money on the line, winning is winning. People don't tend to understand that as much. Another kind of hot topic that has been going on is skill-based matchmaking. Did you run into it badly in Cold War?
I did, but I had 3 other pros with me, so we just.
Yeah,
I didn't play Cold
anyway.
War on my own. I just played with Shawnee, Dylan, Alex.
Yeah,
And nobody's beating us. It doesn't matter what the skill-based matchmaking is like. But I mean, I watched some like I was watching Scump a bit this week that weekend, and it looked a bit. I mean, I don't. It's a very controversial topic because
yeah,
I don't know. I know it's been in every COD, but maybe the level like that it's been at is a bit. I know in MW it was in Warzone and stuff. It was insane. Um, so I don't know what they can do to cater to everyone
yeah.
because I understand why they do it,
Probably a rank
but
play.
yeah, maybe a rank playlist. Maybe I don't know. That's a good idea.
It's an interesting
Yeah,
topic, man. It really is. Funny enough, and this is it is off topic, and I don't usually, but I've been working today on more content for my own stuff because I like talking about even on. So I've actually lined up and scripted 3 videos, of which I also have 4 more that I put into the log to get ready. One of them is about skill-based matchmaking. There's so much. The problem I'm having at the moment that's really irritating me is I'm struggling to hold back my opinion on Twitter, not because I don't want to have a discussion, but because I'll end up being too aggressive, and there is a lack of context in tweets. It's one of the reasons I do the podcast, right? I can't explain stuff. Like there are reasons for skill-based matchmaking, and there are reasons against skill-based matchmaking, and there's a whole conversation that needs to happen. I cannot do that in even 2 or 3 tweets, right? Just can't, because there are even things right now that people don't understand about why it's in and why it works that way that I will have to explain. It's such an interesting topic. I saw it trending and stuff, and yeah, I got absolutely hammered by it in Cold War. Like I think one of the last games where it kicked in, I was 18-0, just running around. Another person I was with went 36-0, and then it kicked in, and I got absolutely fucking annihilated. I was like, holy crap. But no, it's a controversial topic for certain, man. It's mad in terms of like how much it's divided members of the community of Call of Duty. Because obviously, there's 20 million of us. Not just the esports side, but content creation and everything else.
Yeah.
I'll ask you one last question, but let's do questions in the chat so people can ask you questions now for coming up as we draw to maybe the hour mark of this one. For me, realistically said, I think you've had a very storied career, and I think I kind of want to ask you now, what's one of your biggest highlights of it?
Probably the last couple months of rec because we came 4th at playoffs and then came 5th at champs.
Yeah.
And although I don't compete for money, I compete to win, obviously. Winning that amount of money that we did was something like $40,000 or something combined. That was each 40,000 each, and winning that and that being my biggest like amount of money I've ever won. That was like that's been my highlight so far in my career. Obviously, I've had the 1v4. I've beat Optic 6-5 last map. Done things like that.
The Optic before the new Optic as well, right? That's like mad.
Yeah. Well, the Optic we did it against the shit Optic. There was like methods Octane. It was still Optic.
It was still Optic. It was still Optic, all right?
Yeah. And I've done a lot of things, and I mean even this year I've had to transition to more of like a vocal person in game,
Uh-huh.
which is something I never thought I'd have to do. But people don't see that. Like when I'm playing in like these maps, I might drop a point 0.9, but I'm doing my best to lead the team, give him a direction,
Uh-huh.
and that's why I enjoyed team with Den so much because me and him kind of did that together, and I knew I could trust him, he knew he could trust me, and we kind of led the other guys. But um, it was an experience. This year's been a big experience for me and a big like learning curve in my career, and I just hope I can have a few more years to actually put that into play and use it to my advantage. Really.
Yeah. No, I get that, man. I think just to follow on before we go from questions from the chat, does that KD thing ever bother you? Like how
No,
much it's touted, how much it's brought up, like people will judge your entire being on a number and how close to that one it is. Um,
it's hard because if you go back and look at the rec year, I won a map with 5 kills, and if you ask any of the players that were on my team, did you know Zach had 5 kills? They're gonna say no because that shit doesn't bother me. Like I'm there to win. I'll do anything, and like things aren't gonna go your way sometimes. You're gonna have a rough map, but if you let not getting kills affect you in game, you might as well just forfeit the series because you're done at that point. So I try to not let things affect me that happen in game, and I'll
yeah,
you know bring the energy that I need to bring. And if one of my teammates is carrying us through, then I'll gas them to the end of the game. So um, it's something that I don't really care about, but obviously the community does. So um, I mean, what can you do really? You just
no,
got to take it on the chin and just ignore them, I guess.
no, that's fair. That's fair. Like I said, I think it's something players always have to keep in their mind because it's one of the most used statistics in Call of
Yep.
Duty. And it has no context. It doesn't have context. The KD ratio
Yeah.
doesn't have context. If I saw you drop to 0.1 or something ridiculous, right? Everyone just go, wow, that is the worst player in the history of Call of Duty, right? Doesn't matter the context. Doesn't matter if you got a bomb down every round. Doesn't matter if, you capped the Dom flags. Doesn't matter if you were first in. None of that matters to the wider Call of Duty community. And it's insane because people get judged over a KD ratio a lot of the time. Don't get me wrong, right? I think I've talked about formals back in the Champs Day 1, dropping a 1.44. Even then, even with baiting and holding ARs and all that sort of stuff, still very impressive. It is a
Yeah.
statistic that can be used, but it shouldn't just be the end all and be all of it. Um,
It's I think a big part, which I don't think is his fault,
yeah,
but is these cards that get put out on
yeah,
Twitter. For example, an example that I was showing Dens, which was funny, was the champs one. Right, I
yeah,
had a 0.75 KD in Dom, but if you go back and watch them Doms, every single life on Hackney Yard, I was OE into the C flag and neutral in it, and then dying, coming off spawn, doing the same thing, which won us the game.
yeah,
But you don't see that from a 0.75 on the card. But people in Twitter just look at the cards, look at the numbers. Oh, 0.75, you shit. But it's like they don't actually see the impact you bring.
yeah,
And not everyone. I say this all the time: is if you had 5 players that are dropping 1.2 every game, you're probably going to lose. Like you need players to fucking go in first.
yeah,
And if you make a team, like I see some of these teams that people put together, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, who the fuck is going to go in first?
yeah. There is
Um,
there is a lot to be said for pressure. Just even dying is still pressure. If you force a player to reload, you force a player to use ammo, to even take damage, they are not going to be as effective as somebody if they haven't done that. And I've always said this, right? Pressure is an intangible that you can't measure, but you can see. Um, it's something I've always said. I said speed kill. Speed kills. I've always said fast, aggressive players are worth their weight in gold if they're good at it, right? And you have to build a team to measure that and take advantage of it. How many times have we talked about pacing in Call of Duty? So this team's too fucking slow. And that's a lack of pressure on the map. You cannot allow other teams and players to just do whatever the hell they feel like because then you get bodied regardless of your KD ratio.
yeah, like it's a weird one because I think if you're quick but you're not very good at it, then you're not really doing anything. You're just dying.
Yeah.
But if you're quick around your teammates and say like 90% of your deaths are traded by a
Yeah.
teammate, you're doing a fine job. Like you know what I mean? Like if you're just running off in the other side of the map and dying, but you're really quick and you're saying you're fast and you're fastest player on the team, that don't mean shit.
Yeah.
Like get with your teammates, be around them, and actually trade kills out instead of being a selfish player. But that's a whole different topic. But,
Dude, there are a lot of them about, right? There are a
yeah,
lot,
they
especially
are.
especially now, right? In this environment, there are people who are like, oh, if I have a good KD ratio, I can use that. I'll get another team for another year and do the same shit again. They don't need
And
to
then
win nothing. They need to win nothing.
they're mind blown that they're not picked up.
Yeah.
And then they go back to the cycle of all I want to do is win. But you clearly don't, because look at the last year you had. You could have done so much more to win, but now you're just saying it because you want to be picked up. Happens every year. It's bullshit.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more, man. And there are people out there exactly like that. All right, questions from the chat. I'm guessing there is, this is from Raspberry. Zach is asking you for the most handsome member in the GOAT chat.
Oh God.
I'm guessing this is a chat you're currently in.
Yeah, I'm in a chat with a bunch of weirdos, dude. No, they are funny. They're funny. That's who I game with in the off season. But most handsome member in the GOAT chat. Fuck.
This is going straight in that chat.
Yeah,
you know that.
and then if I don't say their name, they're gonna roast me. Shit. Tick.
There we go.
Okay.
I don't know who that
Tick.
is, but apparently you're handsome. Next question. Okay, this one is a difficult one, right? Like, there's been a lot of shits that are out Paris recently. Paris is all over the news cycle. The rumored Paris criteria, or whatever it is, it's something like minimum wage, any players, preferably from France, and all this. What is? I mean, you can not weigh in on this or say whatever you want to say. Like, what are you making of this whole Paris situation?
This one's a hard one because I can't say too much
No, that's fair. Like
for
I said,
obvious
yeah,
reasons.
yeah.
But things could have been done better, for sure. Which I'm sure that's a learning experience for them. But we'll see. We'll see at the end of the next couple of months what happens.
Yeah. I hope.
Hopefully, I'm involved.
Yeah,
We'll see.
mate, me too. I hope you're back there, and I'm sure there's a lot of people who hope the same thing as well. Let's see. Next question. This is another one from your chat. You've got a very loyal fan base, just so we're aware. Why do you cost in Valorant? Is the question.
I don't know why they say it, because I'm the highest rank. I'm the best player on the game.
Oh,
So I'm good at every game I play. Simple as that. They're just salty. Was that from someone that probably doesn't even play Valorant with me? So
next one. This is a good one. Meaning behind your tattoos.
because they look cool as fuck.
Right, brilliant. I mean, that's
Yeah.
your tattoos. You do whatever you want.
Absolutely no meaning. They look cool as fuck. And I saw Krim tweet at one time, and I was like, "Damn, that looks fucking cool. Has he got it? He still hasn't got it. Fuck it, I'll get it." And I've just built from that. And
Fair enough, man.
probably going to build more this off season. We'll see.
I mean, that's just an honest answer. I don't think anyone can hate on an
I'm
honest.
not. Some people don't like tattoos if they have no meaning, but for me, it's like, I mean, I guess it's whatever the person wants, really. And I've been hitting the gym, so if I continue to go
Nice.
to the gym, maybe my body will look good one day, and with the tattoos, it will look good. But we'll see.
Awesome. Well, I think that's an honest answer. I can't ask for anything else. If you don't get a roster spot, touch wood, will you play in challenges? What is the plan? I mean, you might already have one. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I haven't heard anything.
No, I don't have one yet, but I'll probably play in challenges. I've been talking to Wuskin quite a lot, so maybe me, Wuskin, Scraps +1.
Damn.
We'll see. We'll see what happens. But I'd like that. I'd like to be back with Brad if I don't get on a franchise.
That's fair. I can see, people waiting for the expansions coming in, next year that's been rumored and stuff, and we'll kind of see what happens as it goes through. I think it's an interesting year. I'm sure I've been told that challenges is changing anyway. I've been told so many rumors about this year. By the way, mental, just crazy. Expect a massive change up. If you're listening to this right now, here's the breaking news: next year in the CDL, nothing like this year. What is the next one? Oh, if you could build a perfect team around your playstyle / skill set / what you value in a teammate, who are you choosing?
Shawnee,
Okay.
Is this based off? I'm going to base it off players I know, right?
Okay. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, go for it.
So players I'm familiar with, right? I pick Shawnee.
Right.
I'd pick Dylan, and then I would pick Denz or Brad.
Oof.
But I'd have Alex in there as well. So it's basically just Rec. No,
you just pick Reciprocity.
I love Shawnee. I think Shawnee's so underrated, and people don't see what he brings to the team.
I had Shawnee
and
a
then
few weeks ago. Shawnee's a great guy to talk to.
Shawnee's a great guy, and I love Denz. I think Denz is. You also don't see what Denz brings to a team. Because he's one of the hardest working people I know behind the gameplays. So that's all I want. I want people that want to work hard, because if you work hard, it doesn't matter how much skill you have, as long as you have a decent amount, you're gonna beat all these teams that are built like super teams. You'll beat them easy. You'll just outplay them. That's all I want. I just want a team that wants to win and wants to work hard.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's 100% fair. Very quickly, because apparently the Seattle roster has just been announced, so I'll just quickly find out who that is. Obviously, Octane, Gunless. Who else is in this?
Looney, Prestini, Gunless.
Pristini and Looney. Yeah, I mean, obviously something you've already known or just saw them very quickly. What do you think of the roster?
I knew already, but I mean, you got a lot of experience on that roster. I'll be interested to see how like Looney and Gunless like work together again, because obviously they've been good in the past. I'm pretty sure they teamed in the past, right?
I think so. I know.
Was it
Now you
Rise and
mentioned
World
that.
War Two? Looney, Gunless,
I have to double check. I think so.
Looney, Gunless, TJ, Slasher. I think that was a team. But I mean, two like veterans. I don't know. They're gonna. Let's just hope they don't implode from the inside.
I mean, that is now you've mentioned it. I was thinking about going. That is an interesting team to balance. Because Looney, I believe, last year obviously had a blowout in Toronto, and Gunners obviously has had blowouts the last couple of years. They're gonna have to like it's been like managing a nuclear reactor. If you're getting it running and going, it's like, yeah, this is great. This is a great source of energy. But it goes wrong. It's gonna go very, very wrong.
And the problem with that is, I mean, I love the guy, but I don't think Joey Nubsy would be able to control him.
Yeah.
Gunless, Joey Nubsy ain't calming Gunless and Looney down. Let me tell you, not many people can. I don't think it's Joey Nubsy.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I think it's a fair comment to make. That is an interesting team. I wonder how that is going to move forward for the next year. Obviously, going down to 4. The problem is I've got used to 5v5. I keep seeing 4 members and thinking there's another one. But yeah, that's just how it is. But it's an interesting team. I'm sure people are already farming their YouTube views by putting out a thing with it and giving their hot take. But no, I mean, Looney's back in the league. It's interesting. I don't know, man. I feel like I don't know whether that's just they've gone the kind of the safe route. You take Gunless and Octane, and that's going to be powerful regardless of what happens. Pristini also very good, and Looney, we haven't seen him for a little while, but again, very storied player. The problem is it kind of gives me flashbacks of when Seattle announced their first team, and everyone thought that was going to be good, and then it wasn't. So
the only problem I see them having is I don't know if they'll be able to compete with the top teams. I don't think
that's the thing, isn't it?
I don't think a team like Seattle right now beat FaZe, Dallas, New York. I don't think that's I don't think really. Maybe if Gunners and Octane are that good, then it'll work. But for right now, I don't know.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to see. Like, I suppose it's meta based as well, right? I think if the meta suits them, then they'll be absolutely laughing. But is that a team to beat the Giants? First half of the year, probably. I mean, they're probably going to be good out the gate. Whether or not that sustains, we will certainly have to find out. Let's move on from them because we could probably talk about their roster for an hour. This is another interesting one that I saw. What do you think of the Marshall Brothers situation? You said you've been talking to Brad a lot recently, and feel free to, not cover this as in depth as you want to. I don't want to get anyone in trouble or jeopardize anyone's career, but they have also dominated the news cycle recently in terms of what they are doing or not doing.
See, this is a hard one because I wasn't part of the London team, so I don't know really what happened.
Yeah.
I've heard both sides of the story, and I don't really know what to say really, but I still find it mind blowing they haven't been picked up.
Yeah.
I think they bring a lot to a team. They do bring a lot. and to have them both not on a team, that's so weird to me. Considering some of these other teams could use players like them.
Yeah. You think even if they did have those, even if the rumors were true, right? You think some management team or staff somewhere could be like, look, we'll get them into shape. Let's fucking nail it down, and they're still very talented.
The only other thing I can think of is Americans don't like him. I don't know if that's true. It's the only
Could
other
be.
thing the only other reason I can think of why a team wouldn't pick him up,
Yeah.
because the
No,
other players don't like him. But I don't see why they wouldn't. I mean, they've not done anything to him.
no, that's true. I suppose it's down to preference again, right? Like sometimes people may not have the experience personally with the Marshall Brothers that the people in the UK do. Like you just don't know what goes on behind the scenes with everybody. And I think I want to. Here's the thing, right? It's difficult for me because I like the I think I like basically 99% of EU players. But there are very few I've ever had arguments for you. There's very few I think need taken down a step or peg, or are overblown or egotistic or whatever. I've basically always got along, so I'm always advocating European talent to be more represented in Call of Duty. And I spoke about it before, saying it is not a good time to be a European player because of the bottlenecks getting into the league. And I think it would be a horrific shame not to see all these incredibly talented people like yourself not be in a team and have to wait for the expansion and hope that there are the right people in these franchises to understand where talent is and to go through all the problems you have to get European player in. So
Yeah, that's the problem we face at the moment.
yeah,
There's a lot of Europeans that probably should be in the in conversation, but from what I can tell, not many are. Not many are really. Maybe Hydra. That's it.
yeah. No, I fully agree. I fully agree. You just got to think, War, right? Team
Yeah.
War just dominated their fucking European Challengers division. I don't know if any of them are getting even looked at or had a discussion.
I don't think.
Like, what more do you have to do? What more do you have to do? Right, you win everything. You dominate. You do champs. You're great. Nobody gives a shit.
Yeah, it's
at this point.
Like
if you're Team War, you have to kidnap a franchise's fucking family to get in there.
And like I said at the beginning, I think they're better than the NA AMs.
Yeah.
Really do. EU players always have been at that level.
Yeah, it's mad. It's mad to see. I don't want to rant about it too much. And I think we'll make this the last question for you right now. What are you most excited for in regards to the 4v4 return?
Not having to track 5 players. Because let me tell you, that's fucking hard sometimes. And just maps. I'm excited just to have good maps, hopefully. Fingers crossed. And just, be my little team. Just do what we do our thing. That's what I'm most excited for.
Yeah, awesome. All right. With that, I will throw it to you for any last statements or anything you want to say, or is there anything we've missed talking about you wanted to bring up? Sometimes that happens.
Honestly, I think we covered everything. Hopefully this year goes well for me and people see me back on franchise team. Hopefully we whatever team picks me up does content. We'll see what happens. But if not, maybe I'll take it into my own hands. I don't know.
Do it. 100%.
The possibilities are endless. So we'll see.
I'm glad to hear it, man. All right, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate you giving up your time, and I hope you all the best for the next year, man. It's been glorious. All right, thank you so much for everyone watching on YouTube or whatever. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you're watching this live, go do it now, right? Or if you're watching this on Spotify, do it as well. We're going to be on everything. It'll be out soon. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next.